Hello and welcome. My name is Richard, and it's a great pleasure of mine to welcome you into this space of guidance, space of support for those who are starseeds, serving the light and supporting and anchoring that frequency of love, peace, and unity here on planet Earth during this time of great transformation and change. Welcome, dear one. If you've been on the journey with me so far, you'll see that we are through to step 6 of an 8-part journey that I've been creating and moving through. And if you're new into this space, then I would encourage you to take a look at the introductory video linked below that sets out the structure and context of this 8-fold journey. A journey of contemplation and understanding. And I need to be clear that this series is kind of my contemplation out of my own personal experience. And I'm very aware that other souls are having different experiences and different insights. I'm very aware that I grew up in the country of England, and now I'm living here in Australia. And I can speak to that particular culture and context. And I haven't said this before, but I am very aware that there are many cultures and contexts on this planet, many journeys, and we are all walking our journey and path. But I put this information into the public field because sometimes there are messages that we can share amongst each other, certain insights and jewels that we garner from our experience, recognizing that we are all working together in a unified space and field, and we are part of a collective movement. Now, the last teaching was around, the last 2 teachings in fact, were speaking to a very particular obstacle and challenge. In particular, the challenge of finding the approval we need to survive on this planet from others. And at the same time, having the courage and conviction to speak our truth and to bring our unique medicine, a unique frequency into the orchestra of life. And that is a unique challenge. And for some souls that come here, that is very prominent. That stirs up a lot of anxiety and conflict and inner struggle. And this is my struggle, and it is what I am speaking to. That I have to find a way to move through that challenge in order to fulfill my mission for being here, to fulfill the prophecy of our age, in service to humanity in the greater whole. And today I want to take a deeper look at this feeling of anxiety. As I enter this world, which feels like a foreign landscape that I don't know the rules of, because I haven't been here when the rules were created at the beginning of the Dark Age, many eons ago. And I'm not a soul who's lived countless times through those rules and laws and understandings. The way of conflict, the way of competition, and the way the dynamics of human relationships where souls are trying to just take energy from each other through manipulation and coercion. That is a foreign territory to me. And wandering through that landscape feels very uncomfortable. And who it feels uncomfortable to is the little child within me, who mistakenly believes itself to be separate from the whole at the moment of birth. Who has a perception and experience of individuality, and who fears being abandoned if it cannot find a way to navigate skillfully through the terrain of planet Earth. Now, when I understand anxiety, I am reminded that it is an anagram of any exit. So that anxious child is keeping one hand on the exit door, has an affinity with returning home, doesn't want to commit fully to this land and this experience. So if you just visualize that there is a door behind me, and I've got two hands and one is placed behind, holding the door. Now what's happening with this other hand? This other hand is doing the opposite. It's trying to compensate for only having 5 fingers. So this hand is going busily into the world, trying to prove its commitment, people pleasing, working extra hard and to find a way to get people's approval. The counterbalancing force. The part of me that remembers my commitment to be here and goes all in. That plants new seeds, reaches out, takes initiative, has conviction. Across the space-time continuum. But then this part of me, you could say the ego, or the personality, or the older child, goes through a continual cycle, beginning with enthusiasm, curiosity, excitement, and then soon moves into a space of frustration, and then on into disappointment, despondency and depression, until it finds a new way to fuel excitement again. And it goes through these cycles because the seeds it projects into the world do not land. The reflection back is not so much disapproval, but just a very cool ambivalence to the presence and to the gifts and the offers of service that this hand is seeking to give. And that is where the frustration and then the despondency follows, until you try something else. And trying is what this hand does. It's trying to be here. And what this hand does not perceive is that the world is reflecting back ambivalence because it's looking at the other hand. It's getting a very mixed message. That part of me wants to be here and be fully engaged. And yet part of me is like, screw this. Get me out of here. Matt Kahn is one teacher who speaks very eloquently on this. Beautiful spiritual teacher and healer. So-called Lightworker PTSD that this part carries. this scared child that feels like it's wandering through a minefield and waiting to be shame bombed at any moment. Expecting to be abandoned at any moment. And who just wants to throw it all in and say, get me out of here. This journey of transformation and change, it's just too much for me to go through. Just take me home. And so we reach a point where we begin to turn around. Having believed that shame was something that came from the outside onto us, the curse of shame from others, we realize the deeper truth, that we are the ones shaming ourselves because we do not want to look and acknowledge the scared child within, who doesn't feel safe, who doesn't feel loved. The utter disregard of that aspect of my being curses it with shame and keeps my whole system in a state of victim and disempowerment and projecting blame onto a world and waiting for the day when the world will change and will suddenly reflect back encouragement, blessing, approval for the seeds I'm seeking to plant. And that day doesn't come, and I become more resentful of it. And that can continue. And we can give our list of reasons why we are justified in our projection of blame, justifying our hesitation and our struggle and our inability to overcome the challenge in front of us. Justifying why I'm unable to bring my unique message, my unique gifts, bring forth the light into this world through me. Because of all of these reasons. Instead of turning around and asking the deeper question of what can I do as a parent of this child to support him to feel safe enough to release the hand on the exit door and to fully join with me here now. And if you're a parent of a child yourself, that presents a tricky dilemma to navigate. Because if you try and force that child to join with you to yank its hand off the door. That is not love, and will only engage the counter will and resistance. And on the other end of the spectrum, you can't just turn around and sit with it and put your hand on the door with his. Because that is not what the child wants either. That is not love. The love of a parent says, we are going through this change. We're going through this transformation. We're going all in with this mission and to fulfill the prophecy of our age. But I will have your back, and I will give you the confidence. I will never abandon you. I will champion you to the hills. So that you may rise and have the courage and conviction yourself to join me. That is how you release the curse of shame. Through that championing spirit. That total dedication to that child. And to say, if you cannot walk through this land, then I will carry you. The strength and power of a parent. The presence of a parent. And the love of a parent is what the child wants. And then when both hands are here, miracles happen. And that is the journey. So there is a movement that takes place here. And on paper it looks like a subtle movement, because we're moving from a scared life to a sacred life. And those two words don't look very different, but they're a million miles apart. A sacred life is one where you walk this land knowing that you are part of a unified field, that you are held here. You're not a separate being. A sacred life is a life that is aware of the connections and the messages where the heart is open, where guidance navigates one through the terrain. A deep inner listening and reverence. Now in the next teaching we will take a look of the practical method to cultivate a sacred life. And a journey of self-love that is so deep and so strong that we no longer worry about the approval of others, because we approve of ourselves with so much conviction and so much trust. And knowing that that will be reflected around us when we do it. We be the change we want to see in this world. It's a life of responsibility and power and passion. Fully engaged. This is how you become the lighthouse keeper of the lighthouse. Which is a concept we introduced back in the third teaching. You cannot be a lighthouse keeper with one hand on the exit door. The time has come to love oneself enough to let go of that and to really own the truth of that. And we had to go through the last two teachings to get to this point. To look the shame in the eye. And to dig deeper into its root. And here it is. The time has come to reach that place where we say, I will not shame my own heart, my own light any longer. A radical commitment of self-love. I invite you just to take a deep breath as you receive this message today into your heart. Feel the warmth of the invitation. The opening. And the grace. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. From all my love and with all of my heart, may together we rise as one. And discover the truth that our greatest mission in our life is not to change our world. Our greatest mission is to champion the child within. Because the child has the gifts to bring. And it's time to let him shine. Until next time, dear one, blessed be.